what's child trafficking? What are you talking about? And it turns out it's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. About 8 million children are enslaved, whether it's sex slavery, slave labor, or organ harvesting. We're talking about 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. What people are doing to these children. In the last couple of years, there's been a 5,000% increase in child rape videos on the internet. And these are little children who are being abused this way. Here's the problem with America is that we are the #1 consumer of child rape videos in the world. Between the ages of 12 and 17 years old in New York City, this little girl was raped. We guess about 60,000 times, which, by the way, ICE does more than any other agency in the world to knock out pedophiles. People want to get rid of ICE. That's insane. And I was scared to death. I said no at first. I went back to my wife and I said, "Can you believe they asked me to work this?" And we had little children at the time. And she says, "There's no way you're doing this. You'll bring darkness into our house." And I said, "What do we do?" And she said, "I'm wrong. We're wrong. You have to do this." For the very reason that we thought you couldn't do this because we have kids is the reason you have to say yes. When we didn't even believe the stats at the time, I know they're true now, about this being such a, pervasive crime against children. It was 100 times worse than I could have even perceived in my mind. The things that people do to children. And these are young children. People think we're talking about child pornography or child trafficking. They think 16, 17, and certainly those are technically minors. That's not even what we're talking about. And these are little children who are being abused this way. So they sent me to undercover school and they said, "Go and figure it out and find the kids." So I did. I worked in Central America and Latin America, going undercover as a pedophile, as a trafficker, whatever I had to do. And it almost broke me. There was 2 cases I was working, one in Haiti and one in Colombia, where I got too deep. I went further than, frankly, I was supposed to go. I got so impassioned trying to find these kids that oftentimes I'd be sent down to do a training and I would kind of go further and I would do the undercover work and kind of set it up. I pulled in a kind of a coalition of willing people who would work for free because I didn't have enough money. Former Navy SEALs, guys I knew in the government who came in, former FBI, Homeland Security guys, local cops. And we went down and we were successful. We went in Colombia and rescued over 100 kids. And on the Haiti operation, we found the captors. We liberated the other children. They had 28 children that they were holding captive. And we were able to liberate those children, get the bad guys in jail. But the little boy Gardy, who I wear this to remember him, he wasn't there. He'd already been sold. And we haven't found him yet. We are the problem. And our people are going over and abusing these children. But kids are still being brought over and they're still being exploited because if a trafficker can get that child into the United States, the price just went up. He's going to make a lot more money by bringing the product to the market where it's a higher value. And so there's a big problem. And this is why, this is one of the arguments that I made. I had the opportunity to brief the president and Congress and I wrote an op-ed when this whole wall debate was coming up because we've rescued the children in New York City who, but for the wall, they would have been rescued. The kids who were trafficked through the desert with no barrier. And I've talked to these kids, we get them out and they're looking back, what happened to them? There's one little girl who now works for us. She's in her early 20s. She was kidnapped at 12 years old in Mexico and she was brought up, no barrier, border or anything, marched right into New York City. Between the ages of 12 and 17 years old in New York City, this little girl was raped. We guess about 60,000 times before she was finally set free. And that's the fate of thousands of children. Now she looks back on this and says, "You know what? I wish there had been some kind of opportunity, one last opportunity for me. Had there been a border or a wall where they forced the trafficker to take me through the port of entry and I saw that law enforcement officer who, by the way, these guys are trained to look for this." She said, "I would have reached out. Help me. It's a one last chance." So I was going crazy during this debate about how a wall does nothing. I was like, tell that to these countless children who were raped hundreds of thousands of times, that it means nothing, that there's no opportunity there. Here's the problem with America is that we are the #1 consumer of child rape videos in the world. So we are the demand. So we are a major part of the problem and should be a major part of the solution.